And welcome back to another edition of the Between Two Wheels podcast. I think this is episode 108. This is Tyler Janke, and I'm joined, reunion episode here, with Chris Flower. How you doing, Chris?
Good. How are you?
Fine. Doing pretty good. I said reunion. I had a high school reunion, and it went really well. It was fun times, and I was hoping to get Curt in here for a true Between Two Wheels podcast reunion, but it doesn't look like that's happening.
Did they do like a reunion king by any chance?
Union King. Well, it's kind of by default, I guess. Who's still. No, they did not. That's funny though.
Did anybody show up like in a limo or like really trying to oversell? Like, hey, I made something of myself 30 years later.
Some people had really made some things of themselves, but no one that I saw put on the air like that. Okay. Yeah, that's funny though. Well, when Stefan was actually telling me, he's like, hey, you should have like rented a Tesla or something. I'm like, I didn't give a shit.
Rent an astronaut suit and just kind of roll around.
I did have, whatever. It was a fun time. Reunion of bikes. We're here to talk about bikes, people. So we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to do a recap of the Ardennes Classic, a little bit of the NCNCA, some viewer, listener, mailbag, things that make you go, some winners and losers. So you ready for this?
As ready as, well, that's not true. I'm ready. Sure.
I feel like we should be doing the Astana rap as our intro, just because they're kind of Fugl. They had their team of the spring so far.
Are they?
They were.
They're good at getting podiums.
Well, they won a ton though.
More than the Wolfpack.
Well, I don't know. I could probably look that up. I think the Wolfpack still has more.
Yeah.
But you're talking about their spring classics,
right?
And then stage races. So you mix those stage races, which are some of it that's maybe a little more rounded and impressive.
But I don't know if you can mention the Astana rap without getting your video taken down.
Yeah, we did put it in there, and they flagged it, but they said, you can keep it in there. We're not gonna. But anything you monetize out of that video, we're taking a collection of. We never did talk about it. It was a Fuglsang was in there, and he looked like he was a fish out of water. none of those guys looked like they were really up for that. Yeah. If you haven't heard it, check it out. It's online. It's Astana Team Cycling Rap 2019. That's how we do it. We play it at home all the time. So, Ardennes, did you see it?
Which one?
All three.
No.
Amstel.
Yes.
Flèche Wallonne.
Parts.
Liège, Bastogne, Liège.
No.
Sweet. So we have a little bit of work. Let's recap. So let's talk. I talked about Amstel Gold, which I thought was a fantastic race. I talked about it myself, but I didn't get to talk to you on recording about it. What was your takeaway, and was it the greatest race that you've seen so far, like lately, besides like Strade Bianche last year, maybe?
Right. No, it was impressive on many levels. It's hard to say it was Matthew van der Poel's like coming out race because he had already arrived on the scene, but
right.
You kind of watched him do his attack. What, 30K, 40, 50K to go. He threw out an attack and then
5 or 6,
got brought back, and you kind of thought, oh, okay. He showed some form. He's probably tired. This is a long race for him. Good try, whatever. And then when the rest of the guys went up the road, it was pretty much assumed that, well, it's a done deal.
Right.
Fuglsang and Alaphilippe kind of said, we were getting bad info from the car for time gaps. I doubt it would have mattered because they were already kind of cat and mousing. But yeah, it was probably the most exciting finish I've seen to a race in a long time. And it's interesting watching it live because I'm at home. It's 7:30 in the morning, and you want to like be vocal about it, but people at home are asleep and they don't give a rip.
Didn't want to wake your cats?
I didn't want to wake the cats. I didn't want to wake my wife. And so it was an insane race. I think I sent you a text like right after, like, holy hell or whatever. And it was impressive. It was a cool race.
I like how you self-censor yourself there. I was watching it, and it's the family was up, and I was a little boisterous, and my wife just looks over kind of like, what's going on? But it was a great day because then we had golf, I think, too. No, that was Paris-Roubaix. That was a different race. Sorry about that. You might have had golf anyway. No, it was. I thought it was fantastic, and it was fun to watch. And I did make some mistakes. I had mentioned the Kalberg was the final climb there, about 2-3K in. They did not repeat that up there. That was the women. I'd take that back. It's in the viewer email. Someone had brought that out. But I did the timing. It was a climb up to about a K.5 to go.
Yeah.
It was not the Kahlberg type climb, but it was definitely an uphill, gradual, and headwind. And that's really the time gaps. I was doing the timing there because everyone was making a big deal about it. No, it was legit. I mean, at least on TV was legit.
Yeah, we don't know they were getting in their ear.
Right, maybe race radio was something else, but I've heard directors talking about race radio, and they're like, you can't really use the TV because we're delayed by the time we get it. Things have already happened.
Right.
Whatever. When you're tightening your shoe and you're dilly-dallying around, I don't know what you think, why you're blaming your team car.
Right.
They didn't tell you 10 minutes, right?
And they probably saw Kwiatkowski coming up, and they knew he just made a huge bridge effort to get there. He's probably not going to factor in the sprint because he's going to be blown. So, okay, we still got a little bit of time to goof around.
If it wasn't for him, it would have been worse because he drilled the front for them up until like 200 meters when they finally caught him.
Right.
They weren't doing that.
Yeah.
So I like to see some people fail. That's a horrible thing to say, but it worked out good for me that day.
It did. And the thing, I don't know if you saw, Cycling Tips did like a breakdown of Van der Poel's final, 30K or whatever. Just, if you ride with power and you understand watts and whatnot, I mean, it is just an insane effort. Just the amount of work he did to get even close to the lead two, the lead out he did for himself, and the power he still put down in the sprint is just outrageous.
So how many watts, what would Reichert say about that? How many watts?
I don't know.
All the watts.
Oh, okay. There may have been some more to spare, but he had most of them.
Right. It was good. So we enjoyed that. We'll recap. Julian Alaphilippe does not. No, I'm sorry. I'm already skipping him. Mathieu van der Poel.
Of note, Clark. I think that's his best finish ever in a classic race.
He was riding really strong, and I'd mentioned that he was off with Mollema, and you can tell he was tearing the legs off of Mollema at the time. They were trading poles, but you can just see, and maybe that's the way Mollema rides.
Yeah.
But then to get back on, saying, "Hey, this is the wheel I'm going to stay on,"
right?
Finishing it well. So. Anyway, he's first, Clark second, as you just mentioned, Fuglsang third, and Alaphilippe fourth, I believe. Or he didn't really care at that point.
Yeah, I think he kind of sat up, but I think he still did roll in for fourth. But obviously, Fuglsang still had some legs because he was able to jump and respond to Van der Poel coming through. He wasn't going to come around him, but if he had contributed a little sooner to the effort, he may have had the legs to beat Alaphilippe and get the win.
He may have. Now, I've mentioned this. I thought it was very good tactics for what he did of saying, Alaphilippe, you win it. You're the guy with the obvious sprint. Yeah. I'm not going to come through. And now he was, I don't know if he was blaming all of it on his team because they told him that. What do you think?
For Fuglsang?
Yeah. Was that the right move?
I think so. You've pretty much been getting beat up by Alaphilippe all year long in these races, and you're going to take him to the line again. By working with him, I wouldn't. I would just sit there and say, if you want the win, go get it. I'm going to sit here and play my cards.
Right. So he got worked over in Strada Bianca.
Right.
Then he gets worked over. Well, he almost did. It could have in this race again. And then we come up to La Flèche Wallonne, which has the Muir de Huy, which they do, 3 times in the last few circuits. So I just have some highlights here for that one. And it's a 2-up again for those two we come back to. So a lot of races. The race had a lot of crashes. Then they wait for like the last 1.3 where they hit the mirror. Joey Roscoff and Robin Carpenter, both the Americans, were in the break, about 60K to go or earlier than that, and for UHC Rally and CCC, and then there was a Jumbo Visma rider in there. I didn't catch his name. They lasted until the inside 60K. Alaphilippe flats, he gets back on. Skyriders are going down in a crash. It was wet. No, it wasn't that wet. I'm mixing up Liège. But there was a bunch of crashes. Skyriders out. Mitchelton Scott Riders out. Pozzo Vivo went down, and his glasses are all deranged, and his face was cut up. Adam Yates crashes out. Valverde's up in the front looking good, and then they hit the mirror, and Fuglsang hits the front hard. The only one that can go with him is Alaphilippe. He comes around him, crests the top, kicks. And then it looks like he deviates his line and pushes Fuglsang into the barriers. And I rewatched it today, and from overhead, it's not an issue at all.
No, and especially at the speeds they're going at. It wasn't like, they're going full gas, but at maybe 20 miles an hour because it's such a steep climb.
Right. I was impressed, though, Fuglsang hung on as tight as he did and actually kind of made this is a half a bike length.
Right.
So very good. Have you done that race?
No,
I haven't. That's my new question to you.
It was cool to see Rally. It was their first invite to that race.
Yeah.
Really make their presence known.
Right.
That's one thing that they seem to be really good at, is when they get these opportunities, they don't just, hey, we're here, let's just enjoy it. They certainly make an effort to be active in the race and contribute. So it was good to see Carpenter in the break there.
Right. So, well, he and Roskopf, they were the only two. I don't know if there was any other Americans even in the race, but at least they were showing them. There had to be more.
Is Finney in there?
If Raleigh. Who?
Finney?
He's still waiting for the team car. He's out in
he's
France.
Back in Roubaix.
France Road somewhere.
Oh.
I don't know, doing his art or something. Anyway, so that's how it went for the men. And Diego Luis Ulisi gets third for UAE Emirates. The women pretty much all just comes down to the mirror, just like the men. Anna van der Breggen, the world champ, hits the front, and it makes it look easy. Anna Miek van Vleuten of Mitchelton Scott with another second, and Annika Langvald, Bolsdomen for third. And it looks like Katie Hall, I think I saw her like 26th or so. She was a bit back.
But her teammate won.
Her teammate did win, so I forget about that. So you have that.
It seems like those two, Van Vleuten and Van der Breggen, are just the two big powerhouses this year. Every time there's a results sheet, they're up there.
Right.
They're killing it.
I mean, there's a lot of good women. Nieuwedama was up there at the front on the climb, and then it's so interesting to see how like super strong riders. I was shocked. Well, Valverde, who just disappeared off of the front to that on there. Yeah, it's been his race. He's kind of been not the rider we've known him to be.
I think he said he got stung by a bee that he swallowed. And
during
so
the race?
So he was having some issues or something. So that's why he had pulled out of Liège-Bastogne-Liège.
Because of the bee?
Yeah.
Yeah, he pulls out 100K to go on there.
Okay.
But when did he get the bee?
Oh, maybe different races then.
Still talking about I don't know if there was a bee in Liège. A lot of people pulled out of that race. We could go right to there. So Liège, it's more of the climber type of race. Let me give you some little bit of change from last year. I think they went into Ons last year. It had that climb, that pitch up to the finish. It wasn't steep, but it was enough to really deaden. The legs were already dead, and they didn't have it this year. They just went straight into Liège, and so the finish was a little bit different. Mike Woods, he's got a one leg warmer situation. I think I saw a picture, and he had one in his hand, so I think he was trying to take it off, and then everything's hitting the fan, and you probably just don't have time to be able to get it off.
You got to pick a better time to do that.
Right. Valverde abandons, as we said, at 100K. There are a lot of fenders out there.
Were there really?
Yes, they have those ones that just clip on the seat post.
Oh, okay.
A lot of and I'm like, is this a new timing thing? No, it's fenders. 75K to go. There was, I don't know, the peloton was down to maybe 25 people. There's a few breaks. 17. There was they take this left-hand corner. Astana team's all in the front, and one of the riders just goes straight right off the road. It was kind of interesting. It was humorous.
And his teammate kind of looks over like
what? Where did he just?
What happened?
Yeah, I never got an update as to. Anyway, 15 to go. They're on the Côte de la Roche on Falcons. And this is the one last year where they really hit that, come over the top with Jungles, and he takes a dig, and Woods looks around and just lets him go, and that's the race. No one else could close him out. Well, this time Woods, knowing that route at least, he's the one that attacks. Fuglsang goes with him. They take Davide Formulo, and the race is over. At some point, they get rid of Woods. Formulo can't hold on as well. Woods gets ground up by the peloton, the remnants. Formulo stays out, but Fuglsang with the win. Very impressive.
Yeah, well deserved given his slew of second places throughout the classic season.
Right. Now, did you see the little clip of Fuglsang almost sliding out, not quite going high side and keeping it up?
And then going faster after that.
Well, it was a project. Yeah, he just
well, I just mean like after he had his rear wheel slide out, it's just like he kind of had a second of like, that was weird, and then just like doubled down on his effort and just kept hammering.
Right.
I mean, that was insane.
Right, because it was a little fishtaily, and maybe it saved him that it was a little bit wet, because it would. You how far he slides, you can high side that pretty easy and just flip over, and he kept it upright. Have you had in a race or a ride where you've had one of those where you've kept it upright on a kind of a sketchy situation, and
yes,
and then like thereafter you're kind of, after you clean your pants out, you're just kind of like, I'm done.
I have like Lodi Crit a few years ago clipped a pedal really hard going through one of the corners, and like somehow I must have flown laterally like 3 or 4 feet and landed, just kept going like nothing had happened, but my heart was racing. It was like, holy crap, I almost just ate it bad, but not at the speed he was going.
I had one, I don't know if you were there with us, we were coming Deer Valley.
Yep.
And I was kind of standing up and I caught my brake, and because there was a car coming up, and I did like a nose wheelie for a little while, doing like 35 or so.
It's down a steep hill.
Right. And I mean, that one scared me to death. And then, I think I just creeped home afterwards. But anyway, we get lucky, and he definitely did, because that would have been Formulo's biggest win had not been there for that.
Well, he had a big enough gap where he may have been able to get back on and keep going. Who knows?
True. He did come in with 27 seconds over Formulo, 57 over the field, which is impressive. Max Schachmann gets third, Yates fourth, Woods fifth, David Godot sixth, Mikel Landa seventh, Vincenzo Nibali eighth, Dylan Toons ninth, and Wout Poels 10th. So you got a smattering there of like World Tour type of Grand Tour guys.
Right.
So then my question is, Giro contenders in the mix. Did you think that they, from what I'm going there, I mean, was this thin results for those who wanted to do the Giro, or about right? Because you don't want to peak coming into the Giro.
I'd say it's about right, because again, this is a one-day race. It's kind of punchy there at the end. So if you think about the Giro being more of just like a longer slog, the guys are obviously on form,
right?
And they probably got the legs to do it again another day.
Do you know?
Day after and the day
now,
after.
I haven't done the investigation to see all these guys that are going. Do you know if like Woods, Nibali, Wout Poels, who's all doing the Tour, the Giro? I think Adam Yates is.
I have not looked at these guys. I know that Sepp Kuss is
going. I saw that today.
In place of Robert Hissink. That doesn't help you with this list.
No, well, it does a little bit. Okay, women, very much similar. Annemiek van Vleuten ends up getting the win, so kind of redemption from the few days previously. Floorte Magic, Team Sunweb, and Demi Vollering, the Parkel, Tell, Valkenburg, 1, 2, and 3. But there was a minute 30 and a minute 43 she put on everyone. So it was Nieuwendomen and the Smattern and others in the top 10 there.
How deep do these podiums go? This is a big race.
I think they're just doing 3 deep.
Oh, okay.
Why?
I'm just curious.
I don't know. Maybe they do the 8, 9.
Go 5 deep? I don't know.
Right. We can talk about that when we get up here to the NCNCA of some of these. Just have the whole field on the podium.
It seems like 3's good. Let's stop there.
So this classics are over. Ardennes. I really enjoyed it. What did you think about these? Now you said you didn't see all the races, but I know you've been keeping up on it. Any takeaways from this? Fuglsang going 3, 2, 1.
Right.
Was he the better or Alaphilippe? I mean, Alaphilippe's not really was there for Bastogne. He got dumped on the 15.
He did, but
Woods took off.
That's a tough one. Winning's always better than doing well. Not to say that third and second aren't great, but yeah, it seems like Alaphilippe, I mean, he won more races and was there when it mattered, I think, more frequently than Fuglsang. They both had really good seasons, though.
But of those 3 races, you kind of see, I mean, I would expect exactly how it played out. I wouldn't expect either one of those, Fuglsang to do, I could say, Liège, yeah, totally, predict him to win that, yeah. Not necessarily the other 2. So I'm impressed that that's how strong I think he is right now.
Did he do Milan-San Remo?
Well, I don't know if he would. I don't remember him being in the mix necessarily. Yeah. Obviously, Alaphilippe.
So it may have been that Alaphilippe was peaking sooner versus Fuglsang a little bit later by a couple weeks, wherein Alaphilippe was just dead for Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and Fuglsang was kind of reaching his peak.
Bee stings. It's a bee sting. He swallowed a bee.
It could be. You kind of feel a little bad for Wout van Aert, because if you look at his season in isolation, it was pretty good. I mean, he was active in a lot of the races.
Was he in Liège?
He wasn't. Okay. I'm looking all the way back even to the cobbled events.
Yeah, you're going the whole spring.
But then you've got your counterpart in Mathieu van der Poel, who kind of followed you over from cyclocross, just dominating.
Right.
So it's in isolation, Van Aert's season is really good, but then you got to contrast it with Van der Poel's season, who was just insane.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I don't know. I think to some extent, one of the shine from one kind of still reflects onto the other.
Yeah.
Because they're just new, but yet they're similar in kind of what they're doing.
Right.
So,
yeah.
As a matter of fact, up until this year, I mean, Wout was the one taking us by storm. I remember last year where Strade Bianche were just like, wow, it's amazing. Back in it this year. And then Van der Poel, cleans out a few races in a
Right.
dramatic fashion, which is very impressive. When Mike Sayers was in here, he was just floored about which race was that Van der Poel had chased and then not quite caught them at the finish, and was saying basically, was
it Flanders?
Oh yeah,
because he had crashed out there and destroyed his bike, and everybody said he's done.
Right, and then
but good try, and then he comes right back and top 5 or something. I don't know. He finished in the chase group.
Right, a little projection of things to come. Okay. Let's go right to the NCNCA. There's some road races that we've done here. I don't know if you've been able to check results on any of these.
Bits and pieces.
Do you want to go over some of these real quick, and then we can talk about them? How about the Copperopolis?
I'll let you start because my link's not opening here.
Mine is not either. So Copperopolis, what do you know about that race, first of all, and then have you done it?
I have not done it because I hear it's really hard. And I hear there's a lot of climbing, and I hear the roads used to be really rough. I was going to do it this year, but I had something else come up. But no, I have not done it.
Okay, so P12 race, Camilo Casteblangro. I don't know if that's supposed to be a C there, but Team Illuminate, they go 1-2 with he and Cam Piper. So there's good. I mean, there's only like 16 that finished here. Chris Colbel of the Olympic Club in 3rd place. Cooper Shanks, I see him. I just was looking. He did. He's in Gila right now with Mike's Bikes.
Right.
So Isaiah Oliver of SP2 Life. Still looking for that SP2 Life win.
So what I can tell you about
and we'll get to them.
The riders that win 1-2. So I think they do 5 laps of the course, 20-ish miles per lap.
These guys snuck out a lap.
Slept a lap out. No, they looking at Strava. They, at least Cam Piper, I'm assuming he rode with his teammate Camilo, attacked hard on the last lap and destroyed the KOM for the last lap climb, which is like a 15-ish minute effort, and then just went on to basically win 1-2 with a big gap between themselves and Kobel. So obviously incredible fitness to be able to crush that last climb that hard when they're 80 miles into an already hard road race.
Right.
So impressive stuff.
Right, we'll just run through a few of these other ones. Dan Bryant wins the Masters 35. Pete's Coffee over Josh DePease, Touchstone, and Jeremy Cattell of Touchstone as well, 1-2. And Eric Nelson was fourth in that for Sierra. Scott Cox 5th for Cognition. So good to see Josh coming out. Very good climber, former national champion, and haven't seen him out for a little bit. The 45s, Nick Theobald, Pete's with Ronnie Leavitt in 2nd, his teammate, and Lucas Paz of Kai Velo in 3rd. How about the women Pro 1-2 women? 3 women showed up there. 2 placed. Eleanor Weissman gets 1st of the She Spoke, and Jennifer Hartwig in 2nd. Any of these other categories you want to jump in?
Of note, in the 45 1-2-3, Jay Newton, 5th place. Pete's local good guy.
Local guy.
Local guy.
No, he's a good guy. Let's do a few of these because maybe some of these guys will be upgrading pretty soon here. Cat 3, Spencer Ingalls, Dolce Vita, Yuri Morozov, Squadra, and Aaron Casados of Form and Data. All right, that's have you done
Copperopolis?
I have not.
It's supposed to be like one of those must-do races at some point in your racing career. Okay. Just haven't quite made it out. Maybe next year.
I'm past the must-do races already.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we go to Ward's Ferry, which is on the 27th, and somewhat similar. Chris Kobel ends up winning that. There's a decent, 15, 20 people in that field as well.
His team did well that day.
Yeah, Will Riflemacher, Olympic Club, does 2nd, and Chris Baird goes 3rd. So they go 1, 2, 3. Chaz Truman of the SP2 Life gets 4th, and then in the Olympic Sandwich, Max Motzwiller gets 5th. So they took, only missing a spot there. And they had another one down here in the 10th as well.
Right.
It's pretty good for the P12s. It looks like the fields were combined or shortened or not. People not showing up. Are you on this one? Eric Nelson wins the 35s. Jimmy Miller and Scott Cox go 2 and 3.
Yeah, Jimmy Miller's with Cognition, so he and Scott Cox did well there. And
right.
Jeremy Barnes in 4th is also with Sierra Nevada, so it's a Sierra Nevada Cognition sandwich on that.
Right. Now I see at the bottom there Mark Tucker, who I know he's upgraded. a DNP, so maybe he had a mechanical out there or something because he's strong, and he's the one that destroyed a Bariani.
Yes.
So let me see that. Did they have a women's race?
They do. Looks like Kathleen Giles from Snur Racing with the win. Megan Brinkmeyer from Clean Power came in second, and Elizabeth Benishin from Splunk Race Team in third. Small field there as well.
Right, and then the 45s, Nick Theobald wins again.
Ooh.
Scott Giles, Schnur Racing in second, and Jason Boynton at Pete's Coffee in third.
Nice.
Then not a big field, 9 people.
That's the biggest field in the day, though.
Is it? Yeah. So
no, it's not. I love
it. Let's just go to I don't know. Have you done Regalado, Wards Ferry, any of these?
No.
All right. So I don't know too much, but we're just gonna. I don't know if you've watched online. SP2 Life, Tyler Pierce, vegan cyclist, has had some.
I've seen him. Yes.
Episodes about his team and their budget and not winning and stress. Hey, you know what? He could put those to rest after the Regalado. They come to life. They win 2 categories. They win in the 35s. They get Greg White of the SP2 Life wins that over national road champion Brian Zimney of Pete's.
Okay.
Ryan O'Dell of Sierra, and then they get 4th place too with Russell White at SP2 Life. But the big haul of the day, the P12s, Isaiah Oliver with the win. Look at this top 4 here. Isaiah Oliver, SP2 Life. Matt Tufts, SP2 Life. Timmy Bauer, SP2 Life. Josh Carling, SP2 Life. That is just...
That's impressive.
That's impressive.
1, 2, 3, 4?
1, 2, 3, 4. Christopher
Nice.
Beal, the only non-SP2 Life rider in 5th, and that's the field.
He's a
I'm sorry to mock it a little bit, which I if you don't get me, I am mocking it a little bit. But good for Isaiah. Well, first of all, we ride with him. I like all those guys. They do good. But they finally get their win. And I saw I had to look into this because you sent me the finish line photo.
Yeah.
And when the whole team is in the background posting up, something's odd. So.
Right. You can only race who shows up.
Exactly. And, so good for them. But maybe that will get their owner off their back a little bit because they got their money's worth.
Is there a good podium photo at least?
That I would want to see.
Okay.
I think the podium photo was just what you sent me.
Okay.
No, good job for them. Good, all of them. I mean, that's what it is. So I didn't go race it. So maybe I could have got a top 6.
That's true. In a P12 race.
You have to finish though.
Yeah. And you probably get on the podium. They'll kick that out 6 wide.
They put that out 6 wide. I think I sent you a video. Someone on my friend I went to high school with, kid is in some event, and they put their podium, and it's literally, I think it's like 13 people on, it's 8 on both sides of the first place. That seems a little outlandish, but hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Did you cover the 45s? That looked like a good field.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Believe it or not.
Why don't you recall that? I got a little sidetracked.
30 plus there. So winner was Jonathan Baker, touchstone.
Of course.
Mike Sayers, also with is he with Touchstone?
What does it say in there? I mean, he was wearing dye stuff, so I think
it's no team there, but I think he's Touchstone, and then Lucas Paz with Kai Velo third. So not an NCNCA event, but the day before, Jonathan Baker did the
so Jonathan or Chris Baker won?
Jonathan.
Okay.
He did the Grasshopper, the Skaggs super climber thing.
I think Sayers did as well.
Did he? Okay. Well, Jonathan Baker got 4th in the pro race there, and then turned it around for a win in the 45s at Regalado. So he's carrying some good fitness.
Yeah, that's impressive. And good for Mike. Mike came out. He was in here, talked about his back, and then he comes out and does a Wednesday night ride, and was immediately. Gotta love this about some people were trying to get back into fitness, and what does he do? He goes and he gets in the break. He ends up going up there strong up the road. I think he came out of it, but
he was working in the break the whole time with us.
And he knows what to do to get back in shape. Because some guys, they just go and they hang out like me. I try to nurse my way along as far as possible.
You got to be able to get in the break, right?
Right. Well, you can get in there. It's early. Okay. Speaking of nursing your way along, we have the Golden State Race Series coming up this weekend out here in Rancho Cordova. Put on by Real Strada. We had last year in here Derek Novice talking about it, and we will be out there. We're going to do some racing. It's always you were talking about, you saw registration. What we were talking about last year when he was in here trying to get, I think we were like 500.
So I've got the updated number now. It's darn impressive. They're at 740 pre-reg.
What are they offering out there that we don't know about?
High fives and candy bars. I don't know. I think it's just a cool event.
And Greg Price will wash your bike.
Will he?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna can I bring 2 bikes?
He doesn't know about this deal. I'm just throwing
That's
that
all
out
right.
there. Okay, so that's really good for the reg. So what's interesting, it's a decent. I like the area. It's plenty of parking. They always have a lot of porta potties.
They do.
You got to like that.
Yeah.
Some eating right nearby. There's grassy work area. Like you work down there, but grass and trees to keep some of the sun off you for industrial park. Good
business park.
Business park. It's a good road surface. They use it both days. It's extended out the second day for a circuit race. So come on down, check it out. I think did the registration just close?
Registration closed 51 minutes ago.
All right. Well, I just regged about an hour and a half ago.
There's always day of, but it's cool to see. I mean, we just talked about Regalado field sizes, and we were, you count the number of people in a race on one hand. All these have 20, 30, 40, 50 people in the fields pre-reg at this point, so that's awesome. I mean, we haven't seen that in a while, so it's good to see people coming out for that event, and it's helpful that it's put on by some good local guys.
Have you seen the NCNCA bar bat?
I have.
Updated yet?
Yeah.
You want to give us any of that?
I only know a very limited amount, and that is we are tied as a team with, I want to say it was Cognition, but John still has a narrow lead himself. So
okay. So for the rider, he's
So
I've got this here. It looks like. So this says Thirsty Bear. What is this?
So you're looking at the overall bat as opposed to bat by category.
Okay. So I want to look bat by category.
Yeah.
See if we get a little bit of info on here. So P12s, Tarun Elite, 341 points. SP2 Life, 327. So, let's go back to an Olympic club at 257. Let's go back to that. I mean, SP2 Life for Tyler complaining about them not winning. Yeah, the top step is obviously important. And now they've got up to Schneid there. But, I mean, you're doing well for a team. You're getting results.
Yeah, they're in the races.
So, the threes, the TMB Team Mike's Bikes development teams leading that with Dolce Vita in second. The fours, Penvelo, Masters 35, Cognition and Data 250 each. So with Touchstone scraping around 245. So that's going to be close. Maybe we can help it out this weekend.
A lot of races this weekend.
Right. 45's Thirsty Bear is over R4R, and R4R needs to make a move because they're the defending champs on that. Okay, let's go through some viewer comments and see what you have to say about these. Oh. So I did a video called "Everyone Is a Champion" podcast, and I was talking about team racing and some of the negative aspects of what I was talking about with people disagreeing or liking some of the race strategies. And we were talking about Tyler Pierce's one with the Hamilton guy, or that crit that there was some conflict.
Yeah.
And I just mentioned some. Anyway, this is what Jason Graffath chimes in. I sort of agree on your thoughts of negative racing. So I was talking about guys going to the front and actively blocking. Okay? Yeah, not a big fan of that. It makes a lot of sense when people pay you to race bikes. For amateurs, it's bad form. There are plenty of ways to win, and in my opinion, there's no reason to poop in the pool with negative racing. A lot of people race negatively when it's not benefiting them. Some people only know how to race like that, and it creates a negative image for them in the small community. Do you have any comments on the negative racing or his comments there?
I agree with I guess both he and you on the notion of blocking, like literally going up and sitting on the front and just clogging things up. I've never been a big fan of that. I think it's fine to sit, fourth or fifth wheel and staying out of the rotation. I think that's fine, and just being in a position where you can respond to an attack, but actively blocking and sitting in front of people, I agree that's not the best approach. If people want to chase, let them chase. If you want to follow the move, you can follow the move, but don't actively try to block.
Right, and you say that, and then people, what? Because you can do that, and for me, it's a kind of a twofold on the blocking. Is there's some times where people aren't kind of getting together. And it's perfectly fine for you to go and kind of, not necessarily kind of block, but once
false tempo,
and
that's fine.
But once the guys are willing to start working. I mean, this is what happened to me at the Masters Districts last year. There's like 3 or 4 of us that were just like on the front going the whole time. And these guys would dive in on the corners and kind of ride you off the line. You know, and I'm just like, why are you here? You're actually making it dangerous, and we want to ride. Let us ride. And,
I agree.
And that was kind of the problem. And it was just a little weird.
Yeah, if there's nobody that's actively working and you go to the front and set kind of a pace that nobody's willing to come around, okay. But if there's a pace line going and you get in and get to the front and just don't pull through and you just sit there, then that's less okay.
And I think I found it so the lower categories, you want to do something to help your team. You're not sure exactly what that is. You may not be strong enough to chase down breaks, so you're going to block. And that could... Then you feel like you're a part of the team and you're doing the work that you should be, you know, helping your guy, and totally understand. But the higher up you get, the less you're going to get appreciated in the field for that kind of stuff.
Right.
So just a word to the wise out there. Okay. Do another one here. Golden State Race Series coming up. This is from Chris, I think his name. What's his last name?
Halius.
Hey, thank you. I always forget that. Golden State Race Series coming up. You guys going to do a live podcast at the race?
I think Curt's coming down to do a live podcast. He's going to do play-by-play start to finish all races.
We might do, you know, I always have grand plans to come out and do that. And then, so maybe I will. Maybe I'll set up shop, come find us, and we'll talk to you. I don't feel like walking around trying to find people to talk to. But
they can find you.
If you find me, we'll pull up the recorder. Amstel Gold, we did a thing there. This guy goes, mate, I don't know if he's Aussie. You got it all wrong here. No Cowberg in the last time up the race. It was a flat run into the finish. I mentioned that. I was wrong. But it wasn't completely flat either. It was that climb going up there. So
yeah,
I appreciate you guys commenting and correcting that. Cherry pie. Congrats, Tyler. How was the pie? This is a little late. Not timely.
Have you eaten it yet?
If I had it now, it was about like when I didn't want to say, it wasn't good, but I tried it a week after. And so what are you going to do?
Okay.
Someone else commented about our theme music. What song band do you use for your theme music? It gets me fired up. It's called Pipe Choir, and the song is called Monasheen. It's just some fair use music I found, so whatever.
There you go.
Someone mentioned here about MV Vanderpool, and they're just kind of mentioning his stats and some other things. I think his only sin is a plate of fries after a race. Previous cyclocross king Sven Nys never drunken one beer during his long bike career. Never.
Wow.
Okay. I don't know how do you determine that, but maybe he's like.
And he did cyclocross?
Yeah, that doesn't seem. I think that's illegal.
Right. I thought it's a mandatory thing.
Well, that's Ted Nugent says he never had alcohol or drugs, but he's just because I'm high on life.
Right.
I don't know how he talks. Okay. That's all I have for the viewer email. So guys, send some more stuff in, ladies too, because actually the cherry pie one was from a female. She was inquiring. I didn't know we had any of those listening, but thank you very much, except for my kids. My kids don't listen. Do your kids listen? Your cats?
Not sure yet.
Okay,
one day
you'll find out. Okay, things that make you go You got anything for that?
Things that make you go
You can take that first one there.
I'll save that for Curt. He seems to be really.
We'll talk about it though.
Will we?
Yeah.
Okay. When?
Whenever you want.
Okay. When Curt's back. I don't know if it's so much a thing, but one of the things we did this weekend was did a century ride, the Chico Wildflower Century, and it's just almost all the riding I do is race rides because it's the only thing that really gets me motivated to get out and ride.
Yeah.
It's not often I go out and train by myself or anything. So it's interesting going from races and race ride kind of environment to a casual ride and just seeing the different types of riders that are out there and kind of people's different approaches to their riding style. It's some guys were out there doing a 40-mile ride, but they had enough equipment on them, whether it's a backpack and 16 different packs on their bike to maybe ride across the country. And other folks would stop at the rest stops and just eat like it was Thanksgiving. And it was interesting. It was a really well organized and fun event and had a blast, but it was interesting just seeing the different types of riders out there. And one of the types that was really prevalent was the no-look swerve at any speed.
Wait, but they had a mirror on. They can see if they're...
Mirror or not, it's just like there's a view. I'm going to go look, and I'm going to swerve in front of John descending at 60 miles an hour. I mean, it was interesting just having those different types of riders all smushed together in one event. So,
my ex-wife was out there and she was telling me that, and I was wondering about your fueling because she's like, oh, and she fuels fine.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I know, but But she was saying that, I missed one of these feeds and then a sandwich, and I finally got it later. So I was like, yeah, don't you just take your own food with you? I guess,
No.
When they're providing the sandwiches,
and there was
there
were food stops like every 15 miles. It was like, guys, we can stop hitting these now because
gaining weight.
Yeah, we're going to come out of this net positive on calories.
How did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy that atmosphere of a little lower key?
It was nice. Like I said, we hit one of the climbs pretty hard, the Honey Run climb. And then after that, we just kind of cruised. So it was fun just to kind of have the roads. The roads were open, but there were enough bikes on the roads that there weren't really any cars around us. Gotcha. So you just kind of had free reign and did your thing, and it was fun.
Good. I have a few here.
I saw that.
And, I just was throwing them out, and if you took one, then it was whatever.
I took your last one. So.
Aging at Gila, I saw Gila started, and we talked about this lady last year, Edwig Patel. 51 years old. She gets second place on stage 1. But in the men's, what made me even think about it was Oscar Sevilla, 42 years old, has been from Spain, nailed with doping back in Lance Day. He's 42. He gets second as well. So I'm skeptical because he's been known and then he's kind of hiding out in.
He races for Medellin or something like that?
Medellin. It's like it's a city in Colombia.
Don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know. The junior lying down across the finish line. I know that was the one that Curt was. Ooh. I don't know if he was all up in arms about it, but
I think he was in favor of it.
Someone I saw, and maybe it was Chris Helios on Facebook, had put a picture of Matthew Vanderpoel. Maybe it was John Simmons. I saw someone put in a picture of Matthew Vanderpoel laying on the ground, of course, over the finish line, saying, "Hey, what's the difference?" And
Vanderpoel was like in pure exhaustion.
I know, but that's kind of his thing.
He just kind of fell off his bike.
It could be. Do you have a problem with the junior doing that?
I wasn't in the race, so it's hard for me to judge. It may have been that the other kids didn't care. I don't know. I think it's more.
I think I'd care if I was in the race and he was doing that. It'd be a little bit of a show.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I mean, we catch a 10-second clip, and it's hard to put it all into context. You don't want to deter anybody from getting into cycling by saying, it's a stuffy old sport and there's some unwritten rules and thou shalt not celebrate. But then at the same time, we celebrate Peter Sagan doing wheelies and weird hula dances as he comes across the line. So it's like, do you expect the kid not to try and one-up it because that's kind of what kids do? They push the limits. And
I know. We've seen the NFL and the dance and the celebrations, which they've outlawed. So maybe cycling goes like, look, at what point are you going to think is a guy that getting the wrong times and he thinks he has a few minutes, so it's just 20 seconds, and he lays down and gets run over or loses. So that's his old deal if he loses, but cause a wreck. So maybe the organizers say, hey, you have to cross your bike, or this UCI, you have to cross the road on your bike. If you don't, it better be a mechanical.
Right. Well, not only that,
but
line. Maybe start your celebration after the line.
I don't know. And then personally, I don't really care. It's funny to see people get so worked up about it when they're not in the race. And my thing is, it's going to come back to him in the field. If those are guys and they're pissed off about him showing him up like that, like, oh, look how I killed you so bad I could lay at the line and sleep, then it'll come back to him.
And it's maybe he's a phenomenal cyclist. I don't know. But at this point, I assume most people will know his name for being the kid who laid down in front of the race line, more so than the kid who beat everybody by 2 minutes.
Right, and then that's too bad.
Right.
And, I think it was Remco. Is that his name?
Yeah, Evenepoel.
Yeah, Evenepoel. He had lifted his bike up and crossed the line in some race. But he walked across it, kind of like Gilbert had done. And
it was more like celebratory. It was like, I'm so excited and laying down. Is it mocking?
It is. It's kind of like, this takes us back years when I'm trying to remember. What's his name? He was with the Niners at the time. He went on to the center star at Dallas Cowboys and spiked the ball or spun
Terrell Owens.
Yeah, Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
And those are mocking ones, and and honestly, like you said, if I don't know, maybe it brings people into our sport. Maybe we need a little bit. Maybe we need a little bit more like the hooligans at the soccer. The stands. Fans need to get involved a little bit. I don't know. Sky becomes Team Ineos. Any takes on what you've heard about that? Besides, I don't know if you want to go down the protest route for them, but did you see the kit?
I did, and I'm not a fan of it. The weird red to black, or what is it, maroon?
Yeah.
Maroon to black fade. I don't know. It's just kind of bland. Doesn't really do anything.
Because the original Sky was hopping. Right?
But at least there was like some contrast in color. These just seem like the whole color fade thing seems to be really big right now too. Right. Like them and Movie Star and a few others. And
so now thinking back, I didn't like Team EF Education first, but I told you actually at the time with their shorts, I actually liked the contrast there.
Yeah.
And I'm liking their kits more and more this year for some reason. And I hate pink, even though my shirt appears to be salmon or pink.
It's salmon.
That's in honor of the Giro.
Okay.
But what do you think of like a little bit? Like you say, everyone starts to go that route, and now maybe you need a little bit better.
I will say, at the very least, their color scheme is, it's not such a bold, bright red where it would get blended in with like the Sunwebs or maybe even like CCC. It's a dark enough red where they're kind of uniquely distinct. So seeing them in a field should be relatively easier than it was in the past. But it's just you can only go so creative with kits these days.
Right.
So.
And have they debuted it then? Is that Tour Yorkshire? Are they doing that in the new kits now?
Yeah, because they had some like interim kit for Romandy, which was just basically, I think, a dark blue top and black bib. So I think Yorkshire is one day into it, one stage in, and they broke those kits out for that race.
Gotcha. Now, we're not going to go over all. There's Yorkshire, there's Tour of the Alps. Seems like there was another one going on. We're not going to go into those right now. There's just a bunch of races. We're just hitting some of these exciting ones. Do you have any winners and losers kind of either for the week, for the early season? But do you have any of those? Do you want me to go first?
I'm looking at your list, so I don't replicate anything. So.
You could go ahead. You can pick my number one. I can go somewhere else there.
You only have one.
I had Jacob Fuglsang.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's mine. Unless you want to steal him.
No.
Yeah.
I was going to go with the obvious one with Vanderpool. Geez, what an early season. What does he do now? I mean, he was contracted with his team. He's racing the classics. Does he shut it down and get into cross and mountain bike mode? Does he do more races? I don't really know what his season has.
Yeah, I didn't look at that, and I asked Mike that when he was in here because their season. I mean, with cross. I mean, that's such a benefit for them coming into the spring classes. It's kind of like their midsummer Grand Tour, like Tour de France fitness or something. So I don't know. I don't know what he does, what his plans are. If he's going to have to, maybe it just works on a contract.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Any losers?
I'll let you take your winners.
I just did my winner, Jacob Fuglsang. I've just been impressed with him.
Yeah.
I will be very interested to see because he's focused on the tour before, and I know he had Fabio. What's his name? His teammate there, Italian. Then he went over to Fabio Aru.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but then he's over with UAE now, so it'll be interesting to see if he's kind of the guy. I don't know who else they're at. Astana always has someone, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing how he can cut a full Grand Tour this year. So, but he obviously did well early season. Losers, I'll mention here Katusha and Dimension Data. I just was going through some of their stats. Katusha has one win for the season. Harks back to February in the Trofeo Palma, which was Kittel.
I've got a loser now.
Okay. And then the other one is Dimension Data. They have two wins, they say. One was the Tour of Oman, and the other one was the African Continental Championships. So really, they have like one win as well. And both of those, some not good campaigns.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback on top of that, Kittel was supposed to regain form and come back and hit Yorkshire hard. And that was going to be his prep race, and pulled out of it, didn't race.
Oh, really?
Citing a lack of form and fitness. I mean, if you're Katusha, what do you do? Do you say, dude, get it together, or you're not racing the tour?
I just had seen, it was a headline. I didn't look much more at it, but it was about the team saying we're basically trying to babysit him because he's not training, and we're trying to like people don't come to my work babysit me.
Maybe they
clients just fire you and you don't get to work anymore. So maybe that's coming up in the near future.
Yeah,
kind of too bad. I mean, he was taking the world by storm a few years ago.
He was. Then he got sick and kind of had the same experience when he was with Giant Alpecin, and they said, dude, you don't have your act together. We're not taking you to the tour. And he kind of stomped his feet and left the team, went over to, at the time it was Quick Step,
right,
and had a storm-back season, won a ton of races, and then apparently wasn't happy with the fact that Gaviria was an up-and-coming racer and potentially stealing his limelight. So he went over to Katusha and just kind of stunk it up. I mean, he was phenomenal talent, but it just seems like maybe his head's not on right. I don't know.
I don't know. Could be. So that's your loser?
Yeah. Get it together, man. You got talent galore.
Another one, not necessarily a loser here, but kind of seeing him falling apart is Valverde. He finally finishes outside the top 50, pulls out of Liège, hasn't had a win this season. He may have had a win this season.
I thought he won something.
Right, and I was looking at his stats, but there's not, I don't know. It's not what you expect out of him. It's not what, or Sagan. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, Sagan's terrible.
He was sitting up in Liège, so I don't know.
Is Valverde going to do the Giro?
I don't know, but I wouldn't necessarily. He doesn't look like he's ready for the Giro, and typically he comes into the Tour. We'll talk about the Giro coming up here. I mean, it's first part of May. So starts here in a few weeks.
With that in mind, with May, Amgen's right around the corner.
Yeah,
and one of the things I don't think we chatted about was new for this year. The Tour or the Amgen, whatever you want to call it, has a U.S. national team.
Right.
And they announced their final team picks for this year's event earlier this week. For some reason,
the final ones.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they got the finals.
You have a list
out.
of those?
I do. So,
and by the way, the Mike Sayers had mentioned that in here. He's going to be the DS for them.
Right. And then I think Evolo's team Creed. I think he's also leading some role there as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Some little mishmash of.
Yeah. So surprisingly, a lot of Evolo guys made the cut.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Alex Ween, Evolo, he's in there. Keegan Swerble, who's having a phenomenal season so far.
Is he with the wildlife team?
He's with Floyd's.
Okay.
Yeah. Michael Hernandez, also with Evolo. He's kind of a long-range sprinter. I remember he was out at Chico Stage Race a few years ago when he was doing really well. Miguel Bryan from Arapahoe and Capi. Sam Boardman made the cut. Good to see. He's with the wildlife team. Previously with Mark Pro.
Oh, wow.
Travis McCabe.
Yes, we talked to him.
Also with Floyd's. Okay. He won today. Spoiler alert at Gila. And then Tyler Stites of Evolo. Also they're making the cut. So it looks like they got a decent team to maybe contend some of the harder sprint stages with McCabe. I mean, he's not going to win any of the pure sprint stages, but if there's something with a couple punchy hills leading into the finish and it's a slight uphill finish, he might top 5. I don't know.
It was interesting when that came out, and I saw some people commenting online and about Justin Williams, and he's not gonna make this race. And I'm like, no, he's not gonna make the team. That's my point. You put him on the long list as 10. He's not gonna make that. I mean, if so, you only have him for Sacramento, and he's national amateur road and crit champion. So I think you throw him on there for that because they're still aiming further out. It's not just a team for this, right? I mean, there's other events and stuff that they have this U.S. team to be doing. So that's kind of the long list. But yeah, no surprise. And McCabe, he's got tons of talent and experience. So this is a race that would be good for him as far as that goes.
So I wonder what the point of it is. If you put that team together, I think it would have been better to have focused on like U23 guys. Give these guys a chance and expose them to this race event. It's like McCabe, he's kind of been there, done that. What do we gain by putting him in there? He's probably not going to win a stage. Maybe he's somewhat visible by doing like a top 5, but I think it would have been better to give it to all like U23, U25 guys.
So I guess then the idea is, how do you qualify these people, right? Because McCabe's going to qualify by the fact that he gets results.
Yeah.
So then is it just I don't want to say charity, but is it a learning experience? And do you do that at the Tour of California? Because as Mike was saying, it's kind of a loophole that they've never utilized before, that you can have a national team in this race.
Right.
And a lot of those Continental teams are not making it because they've upped the UCI level. So they've got kicked out. They're not in it. And so there's a chance. I don't know.
Yeah, I know Australia's had this issue before, whether it was Tour Down Under or if it was their Jekyll Herald Sun Tour, where their national pro champion won unexpectedly, and I think he was like 30 plus, and they're like, sorry dude, this is U23 only, you don't get the race.
Yeah, so they actually have a cap on there, and that makes it easy, right? We're just U23.
But I think it's informal rule. I don't think it's a written in stone rule.
Oh, gotcha. So, it's one of those, like, don't attack while someone's got a flat.
Right.
Yeah.
Unwritten rule. But it'll be cool to see an additional team in there. And I think, what does that start, next weekend?
So, yeah, I think it's, So the Giro, by the way, starts a week from Saturday. Let's go up here and see when the Tour of California
I think it's next Sunday.
I need to respond then because we're supposed to go to the
kickoff.
Yeah, and we have to RSVP for that, so we'll have to do that here coming up.
Because I think that's on a Saturday.
This starts the 12th, so
what?
Yeah, Sunday is the Giro, Saturday is the Giro, and Tour of California starts on the 12th.
Okay.
And then but there's some events Friday or Saturday. So we'll be going to that.
Yeah.
You got your questions ready?
I do. Is Chris Froome going to be there?
I don't think he's on the start, but
okay.
What would you like? I don't know who. Let's see if they have a start list here.
No, they don't have a start list.
Nope, of course not, because it's only a week out or 2 out. So
still got to finalize.
I think George Bennett will be there. Kittel, Van Garderen,
Nielsen.
I don't know. Action Berman, they're in the team on the list, are they?
He doesn't race for them though.
Right, but are they on the list?
Yes, they are.
Okay,
yeah.
I was thinking back before. Okay. He races for Lotto.
Right. I just wonder if he'll be the lead role since it's his home race, or if it'll be Bennett since Bennett's returning champion.
Yeah, good question.
Who do you lean to?
I actually on that one I kind of lean towards Bennett because I think he's got still more Grand Tour experience, bigger race experience. But and even last year you saw that Nilsson wasn't quite up to, Tolhoek I think beat him overall or very close to it.
Yeah.
So, but it'd be interesting.
So I was reading kind of on a similar line of thought, an article about Chris Froome and his thoughts on the Tour. He's saying, last year I was just so tired. I wasn't in a position to really contend the Tour. This year though, I'm coming in fresh. So is he kind of predetermining that he's going to be the guy for the team, and he's sticking it to?
So he's not doing the Giro?
Doesn't sound like it.
Okay. Yeah, I think last year, that's probably a good point. I watched this podcast interview with him. It's this Formula One racer from Monaco. Mm-hmm. He does a podcast with famous people, and so they were talking, and he was going over not trusting Brad Wiggins when they were in the Giro in the Tour because he had failed previously the year in the Tour of Spain, so he wasn't sure. It was just really interesting, and then him talking about coming in to the Tour. This guy is focused and hungry.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be a really, what would be the most interesting is, I think what Chris can do, and he's going to come in ready. And if he's taking time off, he's feeling he's not going to be tired. But it'll be interesting to see what G does in reaction to all this and how he handles it. Because winning last year and then following it up with the the celebrations and everything, how do you handle that?
Right. And on top of that, the media is going to play this up and they're going to be giving it a ton of attention. It just seems like they need to figure it out behind doors who's going to be the leader. I think it's really difficult to go into a race like that saying, hey, we'll let the race shake out and see who the leader is going to be, because it's going to be really stressful on top of an existing stressful event to have to deal with that. So it would make sense to say, hey, we're going to support Chris. If he falters, be in a position to take on new leadership.
Chris is not going to do that. And the reason I say that, it comes back to that interview. He was speaking specifically of that situation with Brad, saying, look, I had helped him all along. Now he's failing. I have to try to come back, and I lose by 39 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
He goes, and so on the Tour, I'm helping him, but I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I'm not ever losing any time. So I know he's helping Brad, but he's just not going to commit, and they're going to put someone else. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
It'll be tough. That's a ways out, but it was interesting because it came up today.
Right. So in the Giro, we'll have to do a Giro preview. We'll get out of here right now. But Primož Roglic, I'm looking for him. He's going to be doing the Giro this year, seeing how he goes, because this could be Giro might be the race to watch this year. A lot of guys kind of sometimes it alternates. Last year was fantastic. I know you hated the outcome. So what are you going to do? All right, so Rancho will be out there Saturday, Sunday. You've signed up for how many races each day?
I pre-registered for the 35s for both days, and then probably day of for the P1T.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that too. See how that goes. Although the P1T is like midnight, something like that.
It's a Twilight race?
Yeah. Twilight without the lights.
There's some streetlights out there.
Oh, man. All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for joining us. Between Two Wheels Podcast, as we said, episode 108. As always, subscribe, share the show, make some comments on there. As you know, we read some mailbags. We appreciate that. Check out our Facebook page and our Between Two Wheels Podcast YouTube channel as well. And, you know, we're glad you're on the road here with us, and we hope you have a good rest of the season. So thank you, Chris, for coming in.
Yeah, happy beer.
Yep. Sorry, we'll have you, Curt, in here at some point. Thanks, everybody.